Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Hey, my name is Don. I'm an alcoholic. You got a clock up here, huh? 7:30 to 9:30? How long is this meeting? 9? I saw one of the flyers back there on the table. Said, singles workshop. So I went over to get a closer look at that, right? I put on my over 40s. And it said single-mindedness of purpose. I thought, oh, shit. Anyway, I was going through my pockets before the coffee break looking for some gum. So if you got any gum, I'd sure appreciate it. I came up with 2 bars of soap. I don't know what motel they're from. I pulled out what isn't a speech. Now, what is that?
That's gum.
Oh, it is?
I swear, it's in my mouth right now, some of it.
Anybody wants any gum, let me know. Anyway, hello there, everybody. I came to Alcoholics Anonymous in 1960 by way of the courts, and people looked down on me, all the tall people. They didn't think that we should be sent by the courts. They used to say things like, did you know that AA is for the people that want it? I'd say, no, I didn't. And they'd say, we don't want AA filled up by the courts. I'd say, neither do I. They had an attitude. And so I got an attitude because of their attitude. Anyway, I came for 10 years by the courts. From 1960 to 1970. I held up my hand the whole 10 years because they said, if you got less than 30 days, hold up your hand. And my hand was always up. And I didn't know there were people that sat here that had less than 30 days and didn't hold up their hand. I thought you had to. And one time I got 21 days. They didn't have a 21-day chip where I was going, Betsy. Anyway, held up my hand the whole 10 years. And the nice thing about it was they said if you got less than 30 days, you don't have to put it in the basket. So I never put it in the basket. Last time I was arrested and sent by way of the courts to here, I was walking down the street in Van Nuys. I collected my last unemployment money. I had $65, and I was going from bar to bar meeting new friends. I had an old $39 Jim Clinton suit on. It was 8 or 9 years old, way too small, shiny in sensitive areas. I had a clip-on tie. You know why I wear the clip-on tie? In case there's a beef. If you have a wraparound tie, they'll choke you to death. right? So the clip-on tire, they're not getting me. And I don't know what's happening here at the hotel, Might be something happened, I'm ready. Anyway, I was walking down the street, and two young guys, I was heading to the third bar to meet some new friends. And two young guys come up behind me with a 2x4 and drop me. They were going to roll a drunk. And I got up and I got the 2x4 away from them. And I wiped them out with their own 2x4. And the police came and arrested these guys on a felony for rolling a drunk. And then they arrested a drunk. And I went to jail again. And I went in front of the judge again. And this judge, all the judges are, they elevate them so they can look down, right? And I'm looking down, because that's my mode too. So they're looking down, I'm looking down. Anyway, this judge said 180 days in jail. And I looked up at him. Nobody had ever given me 180 days before. I had 6 drunk driving convictions. Anybody want some soap? Want some soap, and the most I ever got was 90 days for drunk driving. And this guy's giving me 180 days for drunk walking. And it didn't sound fair. But I didn't tell him that. But I did ask him if he'd allow me to go to Alcoholics Anonymous. I hear it works. It never had worked for me before, but he didn't know that. And so I got to come to Alcoholics Anonymous. He suspended my sentence, and I came again. Only I wouldn't bring out my court card because I already told you why. I don't like rejection. And so I went to the meetings, and I drank, but not as often. I didn't drink before the meetings. And I did that from January until the early part of April. In the early part of April, a guy calls me up and he says, "Hey, Don, this is Andy." And I remembered him. He was a little pushy guy. Know what I mean, Wayne? I wasn't too happy about hearing from him. I said, "Hi, Andy." He said, "I'm not going to that meeting tonight where I met you. I'm going to another meeting with this other guy, and I was wondering if you want to go along with us." And I said, "Yeah," enthusiastically, because at the beginning of that meeting, and I hated it, and I was going to go there that night, everybody in the room gave their first name and their date of sobriety. And every time I showed up there, I had a new date of sobriety, and I'm sensitive. So I jumped at the chance to go with these two guys. And they were old timers. They had a month and a half sobriety. Everything was going beautiful for them. Jobs are going good. Families are all bubbly. I'm sitting in the back because that's where newcomers sit. And I'm listening to these guys, and they're bragging about how beautiful sobriety is. Isn't sobriety great? And I was glad for them, but I don't have those feelings. And I'm hoping they don't ask me anything personal. I don't like people that pry. Like, how's your wife? She's bitter. What the hell did to you? Or, hey, let's go to the coffee shop after the meeting, get a chocolate sundae. I didn't have a down payment on a hot dog. Or, what kind of work do you do, Don? Oh, I'm hardcore unemployable. And so I really didn't have anything good I could talk about. And I don't like people that pry, and so, keep your honeymoon up in the front, leave me alone. That was my attitude. And the pushy guy turned around and he says, "Hey, when's the last time you had a drink, Don?" And that's none of his business. But I answered him, and I was honest. I said Saturday. I tried to be casual about it. And he said, "Saturday?" Like he was shocked. Big deal, I had some alcohol. I don't like people that assault me, even if it's oral. And I said, "Yeah, I just got drunk on beer. I was trying to minimize my guilt." And the guy said, "Beer? maybe you're not an alcoholic, Don. And I spent the next 15 minutes trying to convince him and the other old-timer I was an alcoholic. And I'll tell you, I haven't had a drink since. And I am very grateful that that guy called me up. And I'll always be grateful that he got me to open up, when in all probabilities I'd never admitted it anywhere, ever. And I've been on this road ever since. You know, when I showed up here, I had a what it was like, and what it was like. And now I got a what it was like, what happened, and what happened. And I'll never have, probably, Mike, what it's like now. And I don't care, as long as I got a what happened. The what happened for me started when I was sent by the courts for 10 years. What happened was that I came and never got any sobriety. I got the big book. They said, don't leave without the big book. If you can't afford it, we'll make liberal credit arrangements. If you're unwilling to do that, steal it. So I stole the big book from the Nest in Reseda. And they never said to read it. They just said, don't leave without it. So I never read it. Anyway. I started going with these guys, and they'd go early to meetings. Can you imagine that, going early to a meeting? And, you know, they'd put the chairs around, the tables around, and put the literature out, and put the ashtrays around, and they had plenty of time. Literature's not heavy, and ashtrays aren't heavy. I didn't help them. I watched them. And for no reason at all, on the third night of going with these guys, I went over and I got the ashtrays, and I started putting them around the room. And I became the ashtray putter outer chairman of my own group. And I started feeling a little bit a part of AA by doing that little project. When I was 5 days sober, the pushy guy says, how come you don't stick your hand out, Don? Why don't you try to get acquainted? You know, other people here are sensitive. You're not the only one. So only because he was watching, I went over to a couple guys. I said, hi, I'm Don. And they say, hello, Don. And they introduced themselves, and then they ignored me, clicky bastards. And they were talking about 13th step work or something. Know what I mean, Lila? So I went over to 5 or 6 people, and I figured they weren't carrying on a personal conversation. I said, hi, I'm Don. And all of them introduced themselves to me, and then they ignored me. And they were talking about somebody getting a 1-year cake. And I thought, what a cliquey place this is. Here I'm a newcomer. The guy says, stick your hand out. Try to get acquainted, Don. And they all ignore me. Then I saw this guy in the middle of the room all alone. He looked like he had about a half an hour of sobriety. I could help the guy out, you know. I had 5 days. I was going to give him a little nudge. Hey, stick your hand out, pal. Other people are sensitive too, you know. That was my attitude. So I went over to him, I said, hi, I'm Don. And he said, hello, I'm Arvo. And I deepened my voice so I could get in command. I said, how long you been sober, Arvo? The guy said, 6.5 years. Why? I said, oh, nothing. Then I went over to this other guy who was all alone. I figured I'm not going to ask him how long he's sober, but I want to get acquainted. So I figured this is Alcoholics Anonymous. I'll ask him something about alcohol. So after we introduced each other, I asked him, hey, what did you used to drink? And he looked at me real weird. He said, what are you, a writer for the Grapevine? I didn't even know what the Grapevine was. Why did he want to attack me? I'm a newcomer. I'm trying to get acquainted. I want to apologize for coming in late. You know, I thought it would be easy to get down here from Ventura County. It isn't. And I wanted to get her early, right? And take my tie off, put it in my pocket, you know, and walk in like I was first time here, because it is. But I did come here. Lila reminded me. I was when you had it upstairs in the women's club. But you know, I like to come early, and I say, is this where the AA meeting is? And they say, yeah. Is this your first time here? And I say, yeah. So they started introducing me around. I'm a newcomer, they think, right? This is Don. He's a newcomer. And I let him. I did that the last time I spoke here when it was upstairs. And there was this lady that, you know, we small talked. She thought I was a newcomer. She told me where the coffee was and, you know, treated me real nice. She introduced me to people. This is Don. He's a newcomer. I went along with that. And then when the coffee break was over and they said our main speaker is Donnell, I got up and she looked at me. And I told everybody what happened. And I don't know if she didn't think that was too funny. But then I said, if I were a newcomer, I'd like to come to this meeting because you didn't ignore me. You know, she introduced me around and she made me feel welcome. She told me where the coffee was and made me feel welcome. And she perked up. And it's a good reminder for me. I try not to ignore people that come in the door that don't know for sure if they belong here. Anyway, so I quit talking to people, to hell with them. And I just went around saying, hi, I'm Don. Hello, I'm Don. Hi, I'm Don. Hi, I'm Don. Guy asked me one time, where's the toilet? I said, hi, I'm Don. And I did that for a whole week. A guy came in the meeting after we had already set it up, and he said, hi, Don. He remembered my name, and that really impressed me. I said, hi, he said, Arvo. I said, oh, yeah. Yeah. But what he said to me, Mike, was, wasn't that a good speaker we heard last week? And I couldn't remember no speaker last week. But I said, yeah, because the guy was talking to me, you know. Yeah. And then I went around the meeting. Were you here last week? Good meeting, huh? Good speaker, huh? Yeah. Were you here last week? Good speaker, huh? Yeah. Were you here last week? No. Oh, shit, you missed a good speaker. And Lila remembers me as a newcomer, and that's the way I was. I was full of fear. We're all born with three basic fears: sudden movement, loud noise, and falling. And we adapt to those for the most part. But the learned fears started coming along. Fear of discovery, fear of apprehension, fear of incarceration, fear of rejection, fear of failure. All these compounded in the years that I drank, accompanied with the guilt that I was accumulating. And so when I showed up in Alcoholics Anonymous, I had a whole bunch of fear and guilt. And I wanted to talk to people, but I couldn't. Because when they talked at the coffee break or before the meeting, you could hear the enthusiasm and, you know, they'd just gotten into a new relationship or gotten a job promotion or whatever, and I didn't have any of those things. And so I couldn't talk to people. But I went to meetings with those guys, and we'd set up the meeting, and it was embarrassing because these guys had put their keys in the front. I don't want to sit in the front, I want to sit in the back. You know, in the back you can look around, see what's happening. See who's coming in late. See who's wearing what. Who's hitting on who. You know, you can't see that in the front. If you turn around and look at it, then they're all looking at you, you know. So I don't like sitting in the front, but, you know, I'm with these guys and I'm trapped, right? Loyalty, I got to sit with these guys. And my wife gave me a house key, so I put it down. You think I'm bullshitting? She gave me a house key. I earned it, too. Took a while, but I earned it. Anyway. And I sat in the front row, and I heard people get up and tell in a general way what they were like and what had happened to them. And every time anybody talked, I would think back about what happened in my life. I heard Clancy one time say that when I was new, when he drank, he got false courage, and he'd get into fights. And I didn't identify with that. I fought for years before I ever took my first drink. I come from a large family, 5 brothers and 5 sisters. There's 11 counting me. And so, you know, you didn't have to go outside to fight. You could fight inside. But we were always fighting. And I became a fighter. I used to be lean and mean. Then I got lumpy and dumpy. But I fought for 11 years. And so I didn't identify with Clancy. But what I did hear and start thinking about was somebody mentioned lack of confidence. And boy, that hit the nail. I've always had a problem with lack of confidence, but wasn't aware of it in such a simple way. I can remember in the 8th grade, if the teacher said, "Okay, Donald, it's your turn to get up and give a report," I'd say, "Well, I'll do it tomorrow, Mrs. Bell." She'd say, "You said that yesterday. If you don't get up now, you're going to get an F, Donald." I'd take an F. Big deal. I don't stand up in front of people and talk. Why? Because I lack confidence. I've always lacked confidence. Didn't know it until I sat in the front row of Alcoholics Anonymous and started becoming aware of myself. Also in the 8th grade, I went to study hall like everybody else that made it that far. And it was an hour of self-discipline, do a book report, study for some examination. I like your socks. Got about 9 colors in there, right? Diamonds and stripes, and they keep going up too. Anyway, I read a paragraph, maybe 2 paragraphs, and I got bored real quick. So I borrowed a bobby pin from a pretty girl that was sitting next to me. And I straightened this bobby pin out, and I put it between the book and the table, and I had it extended. And I pretended like I was reading because I didn't want any attention drawn to me. And with this extended bobby pin, I went, twang, in a quiet study hall. All the alcoholics in that 8th grade class, when they heard the twang, they bust out laughing. And all the Al-Anons turned around and gave me a dirty look. They weren't even married yet, right? And all the normal kids went on studying. And that started me off on a life of twanging. And the best place to twang for me was in the bars. All the twangers go to the bars. I go in the bar and somebody else would be twanging in there and I'd laugh because twangers are laughers, laughers are twangers. Sooner or later I get a chance to pull off a twang and hope that they'd laugh. My favorite twang, I go down the market and I left all my change, damn it, in my other pants. I was quick tonight. Brought my soap though. But I buy my cigarettes in the grocery store or the drugstore because I don't like to buy them in the machines. Cost too much money. I need my money. And when I do that, I'd ask the lady or man, you got a roll of pennies? And if they did, I'd buy the roll of pennies, 50 pennies in a wrapper. And I'd take the wrapper off and put them in with the rest of my change. And I drank a lot, so I went to the bathroom a lot. And every time I go in the urinal, in the bathroom, I'd throw a penny in the urinal. You're probably the same bar I was. A lot of people count their drinks on the in-go, and they lose count after 8 or 9 or 10 drinks. Mine was always accurate on the out-go. If there were 44 pennies in the urinal, that meant I had about 44 drinks. Took a long time to count them, Mike. But I had no place to go but there, you know. Or, if there was a cigarette in the urinal. Yeah, you remember, huh? I'd make a wish. And if I could split that cigarette, my wish would come true. And then later on, I come in there with be more than my pennies in there. I don't know if guys thought it was a wishing well or what. But they threw off my count. All these pennies in the urinal. They're going to in a bar and going in the toilet, and that's where I was. All those pennies were in there, right? But they threw off my count. And then later on, I come in, and all the pennies would be gone. And I'd go up and down the bar asking everybody, "You got change for a nickel? You got change for a nickel?" And I didn't care who took it. I was twanging. I honestly believe, all the years that I drank, that the only reason I drank was to relax and enjoy myself. That's the only reason I drank. I believed that until I sat in the front row of Alcoholics Anonymous and started becoming aware of myself about this lack of confidence and twanging. I thought about my wife too, you know. Not too much, but I thought about her. I met her when we were 17, and oh, she was pretty. And I dated her for 14 months, and we got married. And 9 months, and a minute later, she had a little girl. And I used to carry guilt because, you know, I drank and spent time and money in the bars. Should have gone toward the family. So I tried to make it up to them, right? Take them up to Lake Arrowhead. Let them look at the lake for a while. Cheer them up. And we come down the mountain. The original McDonald's was in San Bernardino on Baseline. And all the gray hairs are nodding. Because that was a long time ago. A long time ago. And I'd go in, I'd buy a bunch of hamburgers and fries and shakes, eat all of mine, half of theirs. And I'd watch people going down the road, guy in a car with his wife and a kid or two in the back seat all bubbly, and the wife paying attention to the husband. She'd be rubbing his neck. And if I'd see that, I'd say to my wife, "Look at that guy getting a neck rub. Why don't you ever rub my neck?" And she'd say, "I don't know, I never think about it." And that used to frost me, Patty. Why didn't you ever think about me? Give me any attention. What happened to my tie? I took it off. Huh? Do you like me better with a tie or without it? Without?
Yeah.
I see what you're dressed in. Right. Sweaters, right? Sweatshirt and jeans. You got socks on anyway. I don't. Yeah. Made you look. Anyway, and so I was always trying to make it up to my wife and my kid, or kids, because we had 2 later on. And, you know, take them out to Oxnard, let them stare at the ocean for a while. Cheer them up. And we go by Ador Farms outside of Camarillo, and they didn't charge admission. You could go around looking at all the cows and the bulls. Hit another McDonald's, buy a bunch of hamburgers and fries and shakes, eat all of mine, half of theirs. And yep, see another guy going down the road getting his neck rubbed, and say to my wife, "Look at that. Why don't you once ever think about rubbing my neck?" And every once in a while, when I bring it to her attention, she'd put her hand up, make the attempt. And I'd smack her hand down. I'd say, "Keep your hand off of me. If you can't think of it on your own, I don't want you to touch me." I had an attitude. because she had an attitude. And the years progressed. Now I went to jails, I lost jobs, and you know, I'm driving with a revoked license. I drove for 12 years and 9 months with a revoked license. If you're driving with a revoked license, I recommend it. Because we're perfect drivers. Any revokee here knows what I'm talking about. We're perfect. And she didn't want to get in the car with me. I had a revoked license. You couldn't tell the front from the rear a lot of times because neither end had headlights on it. Frequently she'd have to slide in on the driver's side because the passenger door wouldn't open up. So she didn't want to go with me. And I'd beg her to go. I'd vacuum for her, I'd do dishes for her, I'd do them both in 5 minutes. I was fast. I missed a lot of spots, but my motive was valid. Get him in the car. Take him out, cheer him up. Take him to Newhall, that'll cheer him up. Out in Newhall, they had the William S. Hart Ranch. No admission charge. You could go around looking at the chickens and the turkeys and the pigs. Hit another McDonald's. See another guy getting his neck rubbed. And not say anything to her, because she wanted to break it. She didn't want to rub it. And that's what I thought about, sitting in the front row. Why didn't I do those things that those other people talked about? And then it clicked. Shit, I can start tonight. Soon as the meeting was over, I went home. It wasn't my habit. My habit was to go straight to the coffee shop. I went home. And she was in her rocking chair, reading. And I was quiet. And that shocked her. And then the next day we're going down to Rouse to get some chocolate ice cream. I got a problem in that area too, you know. So she gets in the car with me. At least I'm not drinking. And I'm a revokee, so I got two hands on the wheel. That's the way revokees are. One eye in the rearview mirror. Tread on all four tires. They ain't gonna pull me over. I'm perfect. And the guy goes riding by me with his wife, and she was rubbing his neck. And I'm 4.5 months sober. And when he was out of sight, I hope my wife hadn't seen it. And for the first time in our marriage, I put my hand up and I gently started rubbing her neck. Oh, she loved it. She moaned, oh. I hadn't had that much response from her since our third date. I rode on Rouse 3 times, rubbing her neck, man, listening to the moans. And then a couple days later, we're going down to Vaughn's. I don't buy my ice cream in the same place, you know. Well, the cashiers might think I got a problem, Mike. So, you know, I'm a revokee, I'm perfect. I'm doing 34.5 and a 35. Vaughn's is coming up 2 blocks on the left, start my signal early. And a hand went up on my neck and she started rubbing my neck. And I got a big lump in my throat, and here I was, finally getting some attention from my wife. And I should have looked in the rear view mirror. I bet I would have seen some guy saying to his wife, look at that guy getting the neck rubbed. And if I'd have seen that, I'd have slowed the car down, and I'd have told him, go to a meeting every night. Get the big book and read it. Oh, the big book. I want to tell you about the big book. I went to the Nest to a candlelight meeting. And I had a 20 and a 1 on me. And the basket went around, I flipped my dollar in there. Then went over to the coffee shop where you get heavy into AA and take the inventory of the speaker and ask personal questions. And when I went up to pay, I pulled out my 20 and it was a 1. I put 20 bucks in the basket in that candlelight meeting. And that was the last candlelight meeting I ever went to. I don't recommend them. Then I went to 20 meetings and I didn't put nothing in. I want to tell you about my first release of guilt. It was after I had 30 days, but before I had 10 years, somewhere in there. And we're doing the cleanup, and I never put in a basket. They said if you got less than 30 days, you don't have to put in. Well, now I got over 30 days, and I'm still not able to put in. And I'm carrying guilt. Every time the basket goes by, you know, I got to go to the bathroom, same time. Or I pretend like I missed it. What happened to the basket? Or I pretend like I put something into it. Right? And so I'm telling Andy, the little pushy guy, you know, that I feel rotten because I can't put it in the basket yet. And I told him what I just told you. And he said, what are we doing right now? I said, we're cleaning up. And he said, that's contributing to the meeting. And we set the meeting up, didn't we, Don? I said, yeah. He said, see, you're contributing to the meeting. Someday you'll be able to put into the basket. And that was my first awareness of the release of guilt. And from then on, when the basket came, I took it and I passed it on. And there came the day when I was able to put it into the basket. I put it into the basket tonight, so I don't have to help you clean up, all right? And I hear you, you got a hefty raise here in your rent, so it wouldn't hurt every one of you to put in $2. It wouldn't hurt you at all. That's what I put in. Not tonight. I stiffed you. Then I put $1 in tonight. You know. I mean, you know, I got 5s on me. I don't have change, right? So I need another. Who's the treasurer here? Okay, I need $4. I already put 1 in, so at the at the end. Right? No, I'm not doing that. I'm only telling you to bring awareness to this group that if you all put in $2, you don't have to worry about the rent. You got it. You got it covered. And then, but don't cut down on the food. Don't cut down on the food. Maybe you'll have to come up with $3 a person. You know, who knows? But when I walked in here, I was kind of enthused because of hearing the volume of noise that was coming out of here. I don't know who was reading, but they sure did clap for whoever read. When I come to a meeting, usually it's early, and I show up and there isn't any sound, and then the sound starts developing as people show up, and I'll get to that in a minute, because when I was 11 and a half months sober, I was talking to Andy and the pushy guy, and Kirk, the other old timer, and they'd given me the honor of giving them their 1-year cake a month before. In 2 more weeks, I'm going to get my 1-year cake. And so I'm talking to Andy and Kirk, and this newcomer lady came up, and she said, hello, I'm Vera. And we said, hello, Vera. And we introduced ourselves, and then we ignored her and went on talking about my cake. And Vera went walking away, mumbling little nasties under her breath. And I went over and I got her, because I heard her, and I brought her back, and I told her what we were talking about. And Vera's still with us. I gave her a 23-year cake. And she knows there are no cliques in Alcoholics Anonymous. There are bonds. And here, with all you people here, there are a whole bunch of bonds here. I know Lila has bonds all over. And you took your cake tonight, right? And you talked about your bonds. No cliques, just bonds. But yet, if somebody new came up to you, they'd think you were a clique. Because you're friends, you're smiling to each other, and you're happy, and they're not. And so they call it a clique, but it's not a clique. We have a bond, and the bond is forever. You know, I haven't seen you in a while, Lila, but we still have a bond. Anyway, and I got my 1-year cake, and different AAs gave me my 1-year cake. I think this clock's wrong. It says shut up time almost. I can't tell what's on there. It looks like a couple birds or something. Anyway, I got my 1-year cake. Different AAs gave me my 1-year cake. My speech. When I was 5 years sober, I asked my wife, come down to the AA meeting and give me my 5-year cake. And she did. 5 years without a drink. Oh, it's flowers. She gave me my 5-year cake. When I was 10 years sober, I thought, you know, I'm going to call the judge up that sentenced me the last time, right? Let him give me a cake. But I ruptured my appendix and I got peritonitis. And I didn't take a 10-year cake. But 3 weeks before my 11th birthday, I called him up. And I said, Your Honor, you sentenced me to Alcoholics Anonymous in 1970? He said, who is this? And I told him. I said, in 3 weeks you're going to give me a cake with 11 candles on it for 11 years without a drink. Is there any possibility you could come to the AA meeting and give me the cake? And after a pause he said, that'd be a privilege. And I told him where the meeting was, and he asked if he could bring his wife. Neither one of them had ever been to an AA meeting before. And I don't know how many people he sentenced. But a lot, you know. That's his job, right? But he came to the meeting, and I blew out the candles, and I thanked him on behalf of the California Highway Patrol, LA County Sheriff's Department, San Francisco Police Department, Oceanside Police Department, Barstow Police Department, San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, Las Vegas Police Department, Denver County Sheriff's Department, Azusa Police Department. One night I was in the bar, it's 1:30, I'm not drunk. I only got a half an hour before the bar is going to close. And I started thinking while I'm drinking, don't do that, just drink. But I started thinking, they don't close in Vegas. I'll go to Vegas and finish my drunk. So that's when I got captured in Azusa. And I thanked him on behalf of my neighbors. They were all grateful I was sober. And I thanked him on behalf of my family. They were all in the front row. But most of all, I thanked him for me. When I showed up in Alcoholics Anonymous, the fun's over. I'm just going to go to these dumbass meetings and exist. I believe that. Very, very short, because it wasn't long till I found out that there's a whole bunch in Alcoholics Anonymous. A whole bunch. I don't have to sit and just exist. Nor do you. Alcoholics Anonymous has a lot going, a whole bunch going. Anyway, I hear through the grapevine that, the legal grapevine, that the judge that sentenced me the last time is eligible for membership. And I, you know, I get around a lot, and I look around. He's not here tonight, but, you know, I'm big in Hemet. He might show up there thinking, I'll go out of town. They won't know me out of town, right? But I'll keep watching for him. I'm gonna spot him sometime. And when I do, I'm gonna say, hey, Jim, that's what I call him. I'm your sponsor. And here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna go to a meeting every night for 18 months. If you got the flu, go to the meeting. If you got pneumonia, go to the meeting, because I did. I spread a lot of disease. But I never missed a meeting for 18 months. 18 months. I could go on and on. I mean, I really could. With the good things that have occurred since Alcoholics Anonymous for me. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time. I just have enough time to say thank you very much for everything you've ever given me.
Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with, and it's actually controlled through the iPhone through an app. Oops. Wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.